Hello and welcome to All Top 5s. It's called a close encounter of the fourth kind. It's alien abduction, where a person or persons are taken away by extraterrestrials for a time. There have been many claims of such abductions, but here are 5 of the most notable. Number 5. Antonio Villas-Boas. A Brazilian farmer named Antonio Villas-Boas claimed he was abducted in October 1957. As he was working in the fields at night to avoid the heat of the day, he saw a red star in the sky, which rapidly approached him over the field. When it got closer, he said it was egg-shaped and had a red light on the front. It landed on 3 extended legs, at which point Antonio ran. He was accosted by a 5-foot humanoid creature who spoke in dog-like barks and wore a grey jumpsuit and helmet. Then he was dragged by 4 of them into the aircraft. Antonio had his clothes stripped and was covered in a weird gel and walked through various rooms where he had blood taken from his chin, was left alone, and was gassed, making him very, very ill. After this, a very attractive female alien similar to the others but with bright red pubic hair, he claims, had intercourse with him. Afterwards, the female gestured that she would raise his child in space. After they reclothed him and gave him a tour of their ship, the aliens escorted Antonio off the ship and departed back into the black sky 4 hours after he'd first seen them. Antonio did suffer from nausea, weakness and lesions after the supposed event, with some claiming it was radiation sickness from whatever he'd been in contact with. He died in 1991, but his story, and perhaps even his space child, lives on. Number 4. Travis Walton. One of the best known cases of alien abduction is that of Travis Walton, a logger who was working in a national forest in Arizona in November 1975. He was in a truck leaving work for the evening with his workmates when a bright, shining golden disc approached them from behind a hill. Travis got out and ran towards it, despite his colleagues calling him back. The disc made a loud rumbling, grinding noise, and a beam of light hit Travis. He rose into the air and was blasted back several feet. He then went missing for 5 days. After he returned in surprising good health, he was submitted to a polygraph exam and hypnosis, both attempting to reveal the truth of what happened. After the light had hit him, Travis said that he woke up later in a tiny room in a lot of pain. He was being studied by 3 shortish humanoid creatures with large, bald heads and huge eyes. He panicked and tried attacking the beings, who fled the room. Travis entered a spherical room that acted like a planetarium with lights projected on all surfaces. He was able to manipulate the stars on the walls with a lever on a chair in the center of the room, but stopped for fear of not knowing exactly what he was doing. A more human-looking alien then approached him, beckoned him to follow, and led him to a sort of plane hangar with other large golden disc crafts, like the one he'd seen in the forest, but much larger. Finally, a woman, much like the man who gave him the tour, sat him on a table and placed a mask over his face attached to a small black sphere. Travis passed out immediately and woke up near a gas station with the disc hovering over him before it shot away for good. He felt only a few hours had passed, but in reality it had been days. There was some controversy and doubt, as is to be expected, around Travis's claims, but that makes the case just that bit more intriguing. Number 3. Robert Taylor. This is often cited as one of the most believable accounts of alien abduction. In November 1979, forest worker Robert Taylor was walking his dog along a forest path near Livingston in Scotland. He claims he saw what appeared to be a flying dome over 6 meters across that hovered above the ground only a minute's walk from his truck parked back on the road. This large sphere was made of a dark metallic material that appeared to have a rough sandpaper-like texture and sported a rim along the outside fixed with small propellers, presumably keeping it in the air. Robert stated that there was a nasty smell, a lot like burning rubber or plastic, and then several other smaller spheres reminiscent of sea mines had somehow grabbed him, dragging him towards the larger sphere. At this point he fell unconscious. Robert awoke later with no UFOs in sight, and, with his truck unexplainably not starting, he walked all the way back home, dishevelled and grazed with torn clothing. The police interviewed him, treating the encounter as a criminal assault, and found ladder-shaped marks on the ground at the location where Robert claimed he had seen the spheres. It's the only account on record of police treating an alleged UFO abduction as a criminal investigation. A really different and much believed account of attempted alien abduction, this, that for some reason strikes me as quite scary. Number 2. Frederick Valentich. Sadly, this is one UFO encounter that could never be recounted properly, and that's because the victim disappeared, never to be seen again. At the age of 20 in October 1978, Australian-based Frederick Valentich was on a 125-mile training flight south of Australia. Although he had previously applied to the Royal Australian Air Force more than once, he had been rejected, but stood resolved to have an aviation career. He was also a huge believer in UFOs and the potential for them to attack Earth. At 7:06 p.m. on this training flight, Frederick radioed the Melbourne Flight Service saying that an unidentified craft was following him. They responded saying that they were unaware of any such object. Frederick tried harder to see the UFO, describing it as large with 4 bright lights shining off it. The aircraft then flew past him at a great speed at 1,000 feet above, then began orbiting him from above, seemingly trying to intimidate him. It was at this stage that Frederick's engine began to fail, and he saw the UFO was made of shiny metal with a green light shining out of it. The Melbourne Flight Service requested an identification. Frederick replied, "It is hovering and it's not an aircraft," followed by unidentified metallic scraping sounds, and then his signal was lost forever. Despite searching for over a week, no sign of Frederick or his aircraft was found by Sea and Air Search in a 1,000 square mile exploration. Some people dismissed this as a confused Frederick flying upside down towards the water, with his own lights reflecting off the sea and convincing him that a UFO was there before he crashed. However, ufologists claim this account is genuine because they say that flying upside down towards the sea is unlikely, and there are photos apparently taken on that same day showing a speeding object leaving the sea and flying into the air at a lighthouse close to Frederick's final known location. Mysterious. Number 1. Barney and Betty Hill. In September 1961, both Barney and Betty Hill were subjects of an alleged alien abduction. Late one night, the married couple were driving to Portsmouth in New Hampshire, USA. At one stage, Betty noticed a fast-moving light in the sky, and they stopped to have a better look. Barney, wary of bears in the area, took the pistol that he kept in his car. They saw a strangely shaped aircraft flashing multicolored lights moving across the sky, erratically, approaching them. The couple drove away from the UFO as it chased them silently. Not long after, it descended to about 100 feet above them when they realized how huge it was, and it appeared to be rotating, and they could see 10 humanoid figures wearing black uniforms. Red lights came on and something long extended out of the craft towards them. Panicking now, the couple drove off as fast as they could, but lost sight of the UFO. Soon afterwards, the Hills could hear beeping sounds coming from the car rhythmically. Then the car vibrated strongly and sent pins and needles through their bodies. They then fell into a subconscious state that they said dulled their minds. Eventually, with images of a flaming orb flashing through their minds, they heard another series of beeping noises, then came to, finding they were 35 miles south of where they had lost full consciousness. After this terrifying ordeal, Betty and Barney both found their clothing and shoes had been torn and scuffed, and neither of their watches any longer worked. Betty found pink powder on her dress, and their car had concentric circles burned into it that made compass needles whirl whenever they were brought near. Betty had a series of nightmares long after that day as well. There's been skepticism surrounding the Hills case, including suggestions of hallucinations caused by the stress of being an interracial couple in the 1960s, or that they were UFO fanatics who spent a lot of time constructing and agreeing on a story. However, ufologists believe their accounts could be genuine, citing some recently released hypnosis session transcripts that apparently reveal some terrifying events that night previously forgotten by the Hills. But I think that's a special video all of its own for another day. And that's it from All Top 5s for this week. I hope you found these accounts of alien abduction interesting and informative. Although I'm not quite sure what I believe, these are fascinating tales, and part of me definitely wants to find out the truth, though the other part of me is terrified. So what do you think? Why not let me know in the comments? But remember, when you're discussing things in the comments, let's keep this clean and friendly to one another, because we all get along a lot better. If you've enjoyed this video, then please feel free to give it the thumbs up. It really does help me out on YouTube when I get those likes, so thank you. You can subscribe for a new video every single Tuesday by hitting that subscribe button. So, peace and love to each and every one of you, and I'll see you all next time on All Top 5s.